After all, how much time should we wait before training the same muscle again? Have you ever felt that the people you usually see frequently at the gym just seem to be getting more results? Could the problem be in the intensity of your training? Or could it be that you're giving very little rest time for the muscles to recover and truly grow? Many people believe that the more gym time, the faster the muscle will develop. But the body doesn't follow a simple logic of more training, more results, without taking recovery into account. In reality, the body functions as a large system of adaptations. Each workout generates a stimulus, and this stimulus is only converted into growth or strength gain if there is adequate recovery. Otherwise, you can enter a cycle of stagnation or even regress due to overtraining, accumulated fatigue, and performance decline. If you want to know exactly how much time you should wait before training the same muscle again, stay tuned until the end, and you'll learn everything you need to know about ideal recovery intervals, training frequency, and how to adjust your routine to optimize results. The truth is that many people, especially when they start at the gym, feel enormous urgency. They want to train chest every day, biceps in the morning, biceps at night, and so on. I used to be like that, and you probably were too. It seems like if you don't force these muscles to the extreme without giving them a break, you won't have real gains. But what science shows us is that muscle grows at rest, when the so-called supercompensation occurs. After muscle damage, the body works to rebuild the fibers and make them stronger and adapted to the effort. If you don't allow this recomposition and strengthening phase to happen completely, you'll be interrupting the evolution process. Result: instead of gaining mass, you get stuck in a cycle of micro-lesions and don't advance as you'd like. To know the exact rest time before going back to train the same muscle group, we need to understand that there are several factors at play. The first is training intensity. If you train very heavily, with high loads, you generate more micro-lesions in the muscle fibers and therefore need a longer recovery time. On the other hand, if your training is more moderate, less traumatic, you might be able to return earlier to the gym and work that same muscle without compromising recovery. Another fundamental point is training volume. Sets, repetitions, and advanced methods like drop sets, rest pause, or supersets end up increasing the total stress on the musculature and demanding more rest. Additionally, we must take into account the quality of nutrition and sleep. If you don't sleep well, your body doesn't adequately release important hormones for tissue repair, such as growth hormone, known as GH, and testosterone. Nutrition, in turn, provides the amino acids from proteins for muscle fiber reconstruction, as well as essential micronutrients for regeneration. When the diet is poor or sleep is insufficient, the recovery process is impaired. And this directly impacts the necessary interval to resume training that muscle group. So, it's no use just thinking, I trained chest today, in how many days can I train chest again? Without considering that, if your sleep is poor and your diet is unbalanced, you might need more time than what's recommended on average. Another extremely relevant point is biological individuality. Each organism reacts differently. While for one person, a 48-hour rest may be sufficient to feel ready to train back or legs again, for another person, 72 hours may be the minimum necessary. There are variables such as age, fitness level, presence of injuries or health problems, and even genetics that influence how each individual deals with muscle recovery. So if you hear someone saying, always rest exactly 2 days before training the same muscle, remember that this can serve as a reference. But it's not a universal truth. This number can vary from 24 to 72 hours, or even more, depending on the context. Now, taking into account a general scenario, most training protocols for hypertrophy usually suggest that, for large muscle groups, it's interesting to have about 48 to 72 hours of interval. For small groups, like biceps or triceps, some athletes can return in 48 hours without problems, especially if the intensity wasn't absurdly high. However, if you do a very voluminous chest workout, for example, you might need up to 96 hours to feel you're fully recovered. And here comes the big question. Those who train very frequently sometimes end up not respecting these signs and, by insisting on a very voluminous routine, can develop symptoms of overreaching or overtraining, which include performance decline, discouragement, lack of progress, and even greater risk of injuries. From the moment you understand that the muscle needs this interval to recover, you start to plan your training routine more strategically. For example, instead of doing an extremely voluminous chest workout every Monday, and on Thursday already returning with the same intensity, you can choose to divide the volume into 2 less voluminous sessions. This way, you train the same muscle twice a week, but with a more moderate level of muscle stress in each session, allowing the sum of these workouts to be effective and, at the same time, guarantee greater frequency of stimuli over time. For example, instead of doing 5 chest exercises on Monday and then only doing chest again the next Monday, you can choose to do 3 exercises on Monday and 2 on Thursday. This way, you'll maintain a constant stimulus and also avoid the fatigue of that end of workout where you've already done so many exercises for the same muscle that in the last ones, you have no strength left. That's why in most cases, this division of volume and frequency proves efficient to accelerate gains. The body tends to respond well to frequent stimuli as long as they don't exceed the recovery capacity. Another recurring question, but what if I'm aiming for strength gain? Do I change the frequency or not? Generally, the logic is similar, because both for strength and for hypertrophy, muscle tissue needs recovery. The difference is that in strength training, the loads are high and the joints also suffer considerable stress. So, it may be that the interval should be longer, especially for advanced athletes who lift heavy weights. Therefore, having the guidance of a professional and knowing your own body's responses becomes fundamental in this process. Before we continue deepening this subject, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because having access to correct information is what will make you progress long-term in the fitness world. From the moment you start to delve into this question, you realize that training periodization becomes essential. Periodization is nothing more than a structured planning of loads, intensities, volumes, and intervals throughout a cycle that can be weekly, monthly, quarterly, etc. This means you won't just repeat exactly the same workout every week, but rather plan moments of greater intensity, followed by deload periods or maintenance workouts that allow the body to recover adequately. This intelligent variation helps not only to avoid plateaus, but also to prevent injuries from excessive use and to maintain motivation since you feel the evolution gradually. A simple example of periodization is the following. For 3 weeks, you progressively increase the volume or load of leg training, aiming for hypertrophy or strength. In the 4th week, you reduce the intensity a bit to allow the joints, ligaments, and muscles to recover more fully. After that, you start a new cycle, possibly even modifying the distribution of exercises. This planning ensures that recovery is respected and that your muscles are always ready to respond to new stimuli. Many people completely ignore this idea and think you just have to arrive at the gym and give your maximum every day. Without a doubt, discipline and intensity are important factors, but without strategy and without rest, the risk of stagnating or suffering injuries increases greatly. It's worth remembering that every training routine should have coherence. For example, if on Monday you trained back and biceps heavily, it might not be ideal to do an intense dorsal workout again on Wednesday if they're very sore, or if you notice that performance has dropped. Delayed muscle soreness can serve as an indicator, but it's not the only factor, since it's possible to have good adaptations even without feeling extreme pain. The main thing is to evaluate if strength and mobility remain, or if you feel weak and stuck in the movements. Another point that people sometimes neglect is day-to-day stress. Factors such as work, study, personal problems, all of them affect recovery capacity. If you're going through a very turbulent period, with few hours of sleep and high mental demand, you may need a longer interval between workouts of the same muscle group. The body doesn't know how to completely separate physical stress from psychological stress. It just reacts to everything that's causing imbalance, releasing hormones like cortisol, which can hinder adequate recovery. Therefore, analyzing your routine outside the gym and making adjustments is a fundamental part of intelligent training. In this line of reasoning comes the famous question, training the same muscle more than twice a week, is it possible? It depends. If the volume is low and the intensity is well controlled, some individuals can do up to 3 weekly sessions for the same muscle group, especially for muscles that have greater recovery capacity, like shoulders and calves. However, this usually works better for intermediate or advanced athletes who already have good physical conditioning, excellent nutrition, adequate supplementation, and, of course, quality sleep. For beginners, the most common is to work each muscle group 1 to 2 times a week, always respecting reasonable intervals. For example, an ABC split, where you train 3 days in a row and rest on the 4th, can facilitate this balance. Speaking of training split, we have routines like AB, ABC, ABCD, ABCDE, among other variations, each with its particularities. In general, the more training days in the week, the more segmented it can be, allowing you to focus intensely on fewer muscle groups per session and still provide adequate recovery times. However, if your goal is global hypertrophy and you only have 3 days a week to train, you can opt for the so-called full body or total training, repeating the same muscle groups in each session, but controlling volume and intensity so that there's sufficient stimulus without harming recovery. This type of routine can be very efficient because the body is stimulated frequently, which, in beginners, usually results in consistent gains. The fundamental question in all of this is that there's no immutable formula of rest exactly so many days. Each person, with their history, genetics, age, metabolism, and life routine, may need adjustments. Therefore, it's very worthwhile to observe your own body, record your workouts and results, and even count on professional help from a physical educator. With the right guidance, you avoid periods of stagnation and learn to dose training so that stimulus is neither lacking nor excessive. A common mistake is to think that if you trained legs on Monday and are still feeling pain on Thursday, something is wrong. Not always. Sometimes a slight delayed discomfort is normal, especially after a heavier workout or exercises that heavily overloaded the muscle fibers, like deep squats, lunges, stiff leg deadlifts, and leg press with plenty of load. The important thing is to evaluate if the pain is limited to a tolerable discomfort or if it completely prevents correct execution of movements. If you're very sore, training on top of the injury or intense pain can disrupt biomechanics and lead to compensations, possibly increasing the risk of injuries. On the other hand, if it's just a slight pain, there are those who argue that a lighter workout with greater blood flow can even facilitate recovery, as it promotes better irrigation and oxygenation of tissues. Another question: many people talk about active recovery and wonder if it's worthwhile on rest days to do light walks, cycling, or even a stretching session, yoga, or other activities. The answer is probably yes, because active recovery can help relieve muscle tension, promote circulation, and prevent you from being completely sedentary on the rest day. It's just important to keep the intensity of these activities low, so they don't turn into an additional workout that further elevates the body's demand. Sometimes, one of the biggest doubts for those seeking hypertrophy is whether they should always respect 48 hours or 72 hours before retraining the same muscle group. Although there are generic guidelines, the fundamental thing is to observe how you feel, your energy level on training day, and especially if you're managing to evolve your loads or repetitions. If you entered the gym to train chest and notice that your performance is worse than in the last session, and there was no other factor like fever, poor nutrition, or stress, possibly your muscle hasn't fully recovered yet. Adjusting an additional rest day, or even slightly decreasing the volume of exercises, can make all the difference in long-term results. And what about high-performance athletes who train 2 or even 3 times a day? Well, these people are at such an intense level of physical conditioning, discipline with nutrition and professional support, that they can manage absurd volumes of training. They sleep more than 8 hours a day, get massages, ice baths, physical therapy, and a whole apparatus that accelerates recovery. It's a very different context from most people who train recreationally, seeking health, aesthetics, or well-being. Trying to copy this professional training model without having all this recovery structure is normally a recipe for ending up injured or frustrated. Speaking of supplementation, it's worth highlighting that some compounds can help with muscle recovery, such as whey protein, BCAAs, creatine, among others. However, no supplement is miraculous if the foundation, adequate training, satisfactory rest, and balanced diet isn't solid. Supplementation is an addition, a complement, not the basis of the recovery process. The same goes for advanced ergogenic resources like anabolic steroids, which require medical supervision and have associated risks. It's no use filling yourself with hormones if you don't respect the fundamentals of training and recovery. This will only temporarily mask planning errors and still bring possible serious side effects. It's important to mention that over the years, recovery capacity tends to decrease. A 20-year-old individual with good habits can recover faster than someone who's 40 years old with a stressful work routine. This doesn't mean that older people can't have excellent results, but rather that they might need more care with periodization and rest intervals. The body changes, metabolism too, and the training strategy needs to accompany these changes. Whatever your approach, remember that the central idea is to adjust volume, intensity, and frequency to find that optimal point where the stimulus is sufficient to promote adaptation, but not so excessive that it prevents recovery. Bodybuilding is a science, but it's also an art. It's the art of reading the body's signals, of feeling when it's time to take a step forward, and when it's necessary to reduce the pace to consolidate what has already been achieved. If you become obsessed with wanting to train the same muscle every day, you'll probably get frustrated or even hurt yourself. Your body usually sends signals of accumulated fatigue, such as general weakness, loss of appetite, or irritability. If you identify these signs, you may need an extra rest day or a lighter regenerative workout. On the other hand, if you leave too much time without stimulus, you may lose the opportunity to optimize gains. Hence, the importance of a balanced middle ground. Learning to have this sensitivity is very valuable for longevity in the sport and to avoid future problems. If you also want to know the 8 things that men over 40 years old need to do to optimize muscle growth, be sure to check out the video that's appearing right now on your screen. Thank you for watching this far, and may God bless you, my friend.